If you found this podcast, chances are you're a high achiever and you're successful. But now you're stuck and stressed, and you realize that everything you've created hasn't given you the fulfillment and the joy you thought it would. This is where we discuss the keys of high performance mindset and stepping into the next best version of yourself. Welcome to the Positive Persistence Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Positive Persistence Podcast, where we bring you stories to inspire you and strategies to help you tap into your potential and become your best self. Today, we are joined by an amazing woman. She is a board-certified internal medicine physician with a deep focus on functional medicine. She's the founder and CEO of Optimize Wellness and a respected author and speaker who helps people reboot their health and their performance. Dr. Remina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for taking the time. And as we were talking before we started recording, this has been a conversation I've wanted to have for over a year since we met in Dallas at a retreat. And I've been following you on social media and the work that you do. So I'm really happy to have you on the show because I know that our listeners and viewers will get a lot out of this conversation. Now, just to kind of dive in, for those of us who don't know, can you tell us more about what functional medicine is and why it's different than traditional medicine?
A lot of people hear a lot of noise. And so to simplify what it is, I love to compare conventional medicine, which most people are familiar with, and then how functional medicine gives additional tools. So starting with conventional medicine, we know it's standard care. It's a pretty much reactive approach to health and a bandage approach, where in certain situations it's important, right? If you're having a heart attack or a stroke, you want to put a bandage on it, but you don't want to get to that point anyways. You want to get there, find the root cause, or be optimal and preventive, truly preventive to get there. So putting the lens from a functional medicine standpoint, you have additional tools. It's truly root cause and personalized. We look at your body, your biochemistry, as well as lifestyle. For instance, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? What are you eating? Your stress level. And we're complex human beings. We're more than a body of organs. We're mind, body, spirit. Yeah. So I absolutely add that touch into it too. So it's truly holistic care, personalized to you.
So instead of a cookie cutter, one size fit all, this is the process or the pill or the procedure that we use, and we're going to put everybody into it. It actually flips us on its head. And as you said, it makes this approach more individualized, which I want to ask you also about concierge care, which is something that you offer. Can you explain to us what that is?
Yes. So a lot of times in an insurance-based system, you may get 2 minutes with the physician if you get to see the physician, and you don't really get to address what's going on. What I love to offer in a concierge approach is truly personalized. You get me at your service to truly help out. So from the minute we meet, I get at least 90 minutes. A lot of my clients they're everywhere. So virtual platform seems to work. So I'm catering to you as a person and everything. It's conversational. It's also adding the science aspect to it. It's so much. So that's part of it. And then the additional concierge, you don't want to spend forever at a lab. You don't want to wait, like you're told you're going to fast, but then you have to wait in line. So when I add in my labs, if it's advanced functional medicine labs, a lot of them, they're delivered to your door because they analyze different tests. They look at different specimens. They don't necessarily all need blood work, which some do, but if it's usually a lab kit that gets to your door, you collect it, you call FedEx, I get the test and the results back within a couple of days, and we have an actionable amount of data to work on. Then with supplements, same thing. I get good quality, high quality, third-party tested, and it's important because sometimes you may see certain places where you think, okay, that looks good, but maybe they're contaminated. You may not be absorbing it correctly if it's not good quality. So I make sure that's there and it's delivered to your door. So it's really meant to keep the stress amount out and make it very accessible.
That sounds amazing because I mean, there are so many things that you just mentioned that if you don't know, like you don't know, like most people don't realize that they should be paying attention to like the absorption rate of their supplements. But if you don't know that, you're going to go to maybe your local GNC and you're going to grab your supplements, or your doctor's going to give you a medication that maybe isn't going to work well for you and your body. So in your estimation, do you find that functional medicine is growing in this country? I mean, it's still, I would imagine, still predominantly conventional medicine that most people are using, but is functional medicine on a growth pattern?
Oh, absolutely. Especially more people coming across it and truly understanding it, because there's a lot of people out there practicing functional medicine, but you also have to look at the credentials, right?
Mm,
Yes, there's functional nutritionists, there's functional medicine life coaches, but yes, as a physician, having the functional medicine lens is absolutely taking over because you're giving people the tools to truly heal themselves.
yeah,
Number one. Number two, you're actually using advanced labs and personalized tools. For instance, if we're looking at like a gut dysfunction or hormones in women, especially in the perimenopause years, if you go to the conventional doctor, they're, even if you're trained, unless you know these tools are available, you won't know to offer it. So what do women get faced with? They get gaslit. They're like, you're just going to go through menopause, deal with it. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of women get discouraged. But
right.
you actually look at functional medicine, longevity, you can. There's actually studies that are coming out there that data shows that you do get benefit perimenopause, meaning it takes about an average of 10 years to actually hit menopause. Average age is 50, 51. So if you look at starting getting your advanced labs to tell you where your body is, not just the blood work, that's just a snippet at the conventional medicine doctors, but
Mm,
advanced labs that I usually like to add, something called the Dutch panel. It's a urine test, and then you add in a salivary test, which tests your cortisol, your stress response, and how that's all related. It really breaks it down. If you're stressed in fight or flight, your sympathetic nervous system is off.
mhm.
That's going to pull from your male and female hormones, meaning you don't want to sit down and try to reproduce. You're not going to try to have beautiful hair. Your body composition is going to be different. You're going to have brain fog, right? Because you're in that stress mode. Or another example, well, if you're showing signs that your hormones are declining, where exactly? Because the pattern is beginning. And as women, we're complex. We have monthly cycles from the time we start our periods, but then you get closer to menopause, those change. And so if you can find where in your pathway that this testing tells you, for instance, there's a beneficial form of estrogen, right? Are you metabolizing it correctly? Do you have the correct building blocks? For instance, something simple as a vitamin, right? Are you methylating the right vitamin B form, vitamin D, or certain pathways going down a portion where you can't even produce the hormones correctly, or maybe certain types of estrogen are increasing your risk for cancer.
Mm,
So this amount of data, we get so much more. Now, who doesn't want more data that's specific to you? And so you don't necessarily have to go straight to medicine, straight to hormone replacement. You can add all these alternative tools that are actually evidence-based, that are sustainable. And then, yes, if you want to add, for instance, hormone replacement, there's data that shows, yes, you could start 10 years before because it's cardioprotective. It helps your bones. It helps your muscles. It helps you feel good, look good. It's a win. And so that's why having the benefit of having an actual functional medicine physician that can, I add in the Eastern and Western medicine because there's benefits to both, to differentiate, okay, this is going to work, this may be harmful, etc. So yes, this is an upward trend and it's showing improvement. Not only that, but then we're tired of the insurance-based system where it's big pharma calling the shots. It's
right.
not for the patients. And that's why I love what I do, because I'm creating my own system with people that are out there doing it, and together we are changing healthcare.
That is awesome. That is very refreshing to hear. And speaking of refreshing, just to go back to the model of concierge care, I mean, the struggle is real when you're at the doctor's office and you're sitting there for 45 minutes to an hour plus just to get into the doctor's office, not to see the doctor. Now the nurse comes in. Now you're waiting for another half hour, and the doctor comes in and sees you for like 5 minutes. What? So yeah, that is, man, I would love to see that disappear forever. Now, something that you talked about, you said there are other options than, taking medicine, which is something I want to dive into here as well, because I know that one of your quotes is that you believe in holistic, encompassing physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions. And so let's unpack that a little bit, because once we hit the spiritual dimension, some people are gonna be like, oh, okay, what the foo-foo, what is that all about? And I love to pick your brain about that, because I just actually came from my Reiki session this morning. And how does the spiritual factor into someone's health in your estimation?
I love when I'm talking to different crowds in my audience, because yes, spirituality, but then you throw in the science-backed aspect of it. Mm-hmm. People are like, okay, well, this makes sense. But if you're already well-versed, like you just said, Reiki, you're well-versed in the spiritual aspects, well, then I find a way to speak to that audience. But it's really ending up at the same thing. And if you look at quality of life, yes, we are all encompassing. Mm-hmm. And it ties into, yes, mindset, getting your entire body right, because it's a big ecosystem. So even if your mindset, if your spirituality is off, you're going to be off. I mean, think about it. When you're physically having emotions of some sort of ailment, if you're sick, it's a lot of the talk that you tell yourself, right? That's just one aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But what does that really entail scientifically, right? So let's break out one of my favorite modalities of healing, and it does kind of tie into spirituality, but also science. So let's talk about nervous system regulation and take a branch off of that. Specifically, there's different modalities. Mm-hmm. I don't like putting a bandage approach, but yes, of course, sometimes if you need an acute anti-anxiety or depression to snap out of it, but there's a root cause to it. And there's so much complexity to that root cause, including all those aspects, mind, body, spirit, everything. So how do you dive deep in that? If you look at it, let's break down the nervous system. You have fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system. It's good. It's there to help you in the short term. You're getting chased by a bear. That's good. You want to run. You want to fight. You're going to feel the physical symptoms of your heart racing. You're going to feel that. Yep. You're going to feel the adrenaline. You're going to feel that cortisol response, right? And then you have the rest and digest, which is the nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, calming down, letting your body know that you're not in threat. You want that and you don't want to have an imbalance. But a lot of times in our really busy nonstop society, we are faced with all types of stressors, right? The way we live, the way we eat, the types of relationships we have. Yeah. Are we actually giving ourselves times to de-stress? Do we have a religious or spiritual practice? Meditation, right? Mm-hmm. So if we break that down, that's how you can balance it. So then your bucket doesn't fall down so easily, right? You look at people, some people manage their stress much more than someone that may be on the last bucket and tip over, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is where it comes to play. When we take it a little bit further, we look at trauma with a big T, trauma with the little t. And those are the little stressors that come out, including lifestyle, previous experiences, and then obvious trauma, right? Yeah. If you don't ever address those, then your root cause will not be addressed. You will have some sort of anxiety. You will have some sort of something, right? And so where do people dive into? This is what I love introducing people to if they haven't ever felt it. And I'm talking about high performers, highly educated. They're like, wait, I didn't know this was scientifically evident. I didn't know that my body could feel this way. And it's beautiful. And so when you look at imaging, there's different modalities. Mm-hmm. So you could do breath work because that taps into your nervous system. That tells your body you're safe. You could do like 4-second box breathing. Mm-hmm. There's also different methods. You could do like 5, 7, 8. But the idea is when you start breathing, your vagus nerve is a nerve, one of the longest nerves in your body, and it tells your body and your brain to calm down. And it balances that nervous system, the sympathetic to your parasympathetic. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Meditation also it changes your brain. And there's so much research that's out there now. And so a lot of times the ancient spiritual practices that have been preaching this, science is showing that it is a benefit. You look at imaging, you look at brain imaging, and you see how it lights up differently. If you're stressed, it lights up differently. And then when you're calmer, or if you use these modalities, it lights up differently too. So you're backed up with that.
You're talking about imaging, like brain scans?
Brain scans, yes, specific brain scans, exactly. Then you take it a step further as well. There's sound healing, right? You always see people with sound bowls. They feel like, if you've tried it, yes, they feel healing, but why, right? Well, the waves, sound healing is just, it's beautiful. And there was research that was done that specifically the 4-second counts with the drummings, but I love to use sound bowls. It's a different type of release. And what was done, there was this device that measures brain waves. So you can measure brain waves. You look at a highly anxious brain that's like going waves everywhere. But then if you use a modality, and I'm going to focus on sound healing on this one, but it's the same way with anything that you're doing to regulate your nervous system. It's having the adjustment of the brain waves into the theta wave, the creativity, the Zen zone. And so you're measuring it. And then you, as a human, complex human being, feeling it, you feel it. And our bodies are also made of water. So when you're there physically, you feel the vibrations, and it physically adjusts your energy centers. So now you're taking the scientific approach and you're bridging the ancient spiritual modalities that have been going on for decades. You're merging them. And so we're seeing more and more people are coming to this. Yeah. Take that even a step further. You think about an entity. Do you believe in God? Whatever the case is, it's also having a higher power, tapping into that portion of your brain that can be accepting to that. So even if you believe in God, or if you don't, whatever the case is, this is a form of spirituality, what it is to you. And you're practicing that. You're practicing it. And if you add plant medicine, there's more data that shows you that it restructures your brain permanently in a beneficial way, so you can start accepting these changes. And this is where it gets a little sticky, because yes, you see ketamine clinics pop up. There's a lot of data out there, more coming forward with psilocybin, with, kava plant is beautiful. It's been used in ancient cultures, but what it does, it hits different receptors of your brain. It's healthier. Like kava hits your GABA receptors, right? And then you have kana, which hits also your serotonin receptors, right? And so your body is opening up to these different experiences, but you have to be able to do the work. You have to have, in some cases, a guide, because if you're open to that and there's some trauma you're working through or anxiety, you're receptive. And your brain is restructuring and opening to that. So long story short, the scientific explanation, this is how you get into spirituality, scientifically, and then ancient spirituality. And it's amazing.
I love the fact that more tests are being done and more data is coming out, so people can understand that this is like scientifically backed. Like there's proof that this actually works and exists. Like it's real. It's not foo-foo.
Look at the Navy SEALs, right? We're talking about high caliber, intense military trained, going out in the war zone. They take a moment to pause, call it meditation or breathe. Why? Because they're getting ready to battle. And to get that fight or fight response up, you need to have that rest or digest response balance. So then when you're ready for battle, you're focused. They also do yoga. So they meditate and do yoga. So it's being used in so many modalities, mainstream, and I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is really cool. Back to you and your story and your background. Now, your path spans nutrition. You mentioned the SEALs, military service, osteopathic medicine, internal medicine. How do like all of these diverse experiences converge to shape your approach to helping your clients reboot their health?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think you can ever speak from a place of authenticity unless you've done the work or gone through your own journey and battle. And, I love that you speak about mindset and really powering through, because that really is a part of my journey. And it goes down to self-worth. And if I back up how I developed this mindset and how I use this to help my clients, because I'm really, yes, that's great. I did the work. I got the credentials, but I also had these life experiences. So I know how these people, these clients, these fellow human beings are feeling because I've been through it and speaking from that authenticity. So every journey. So starting from growing up, right? I am the first one in my family to get a college education. So I had to battle the cultural restraints, right? My parents came from a developing country. All they knew was traditional values and just put food on the table. Constant fight or flight, right? So it was up to me to figure out how to break that generational trauma. And a young girl like that has a lot, if you're not given the resources or the encouragement, well, that has a lot to do with how your brain functions and how you see your sense of self-worth. So at that time, I was called to, I had something in me that said, you know what, I need to go join the military. And it gave me more than I expected. It was part of my journey. And it was when I was in the war zone in Iraq. And I remember this day very well. There was a big explosion that happened right in front of me. And I was so grateful. And I believe in God. I'm not saying anything, but there's a higher power. But for me, I was like, thank God it missed me, because I have a higher power and this is a blessing. I need to do something with it. I am going to find the tools, get educated so no one can ever tell me I can't do anything. I can break generational trauma. And I found the confidence. Now, I'm not saying it was easy, because there's always battles that makes you fall into the imposter syndrome, and all the high performers that I speak to still feel it. But how do you battle it? You have to have these tools so you know how to snap out of it. So that was just part of it. The confidence, the grit that I had to work through, the financial resources that I gained, the mentors that I came across. And I also learned what mental health was, like battling mental health for me. And it's prominent these days. I mean, everywhere, unfortunately, there's not enough resources, but slowly it's happening. More research on that as well. So I had to go through my own journey of not only the mindset, right? Like, what am I telling myself and how do I stop that? So before I even got into medical school, when I was an undergrad, I always had that voice that came from my background, like, oh, you're just a girl. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Like, just go get married and have kids, right? That was all my purpose, but that's more than what I was called for. I had this inner burning desire. So anytime I would have panic attacks, right? And I'm not embarrassed to talk about it anymore, because the more we talk about it, it shows who we are, and that there are people out there that are lost and they're afraid to talk and ask for help. But that's where you do it. You ask for help, because that's where you get the resources. And for me, I did what I thought I knew what to do during that time, was find conventional medicine. And all they did was antidepressants, maybe some talk therapy, which really doesn't give you the tools to get to root cause. So that was a part of my journey. And it wasn't until I got to a yoga class that I learned how to breathe, that I felt seen and felt heard. And I got those tools to get me through the panic attacks. And it actually worked. And that's where my healing journey started. I used all those tools and I reframed my mind. I did affirmations. I did a lot of the work that restructures your brain. There's something called neuroplasticity, and it rewires your brain, and it goes down to a neurochemical level too, right? You're releasing happy chemicals or sad chemicals, right? So when I throw around words like dopamine, serotonin, they are released. And you could restructure your brain. And it takes about 21 days to start a habit. And it takes longer to make lasting change. And so I started doing these things that changes me inside and out. I meditated, I breathe, and I find my way through, and changing the people you're around. That's a big, big influence, because who's your support group? Who are you talking to, right? That gave me the tools to have sustaining change. I used them all the way through getting through med school. And the girl that was told, no, you're not, you can't ever, I graduated the top 5 of my class. And I got into my number 1 spot of residency. And then same tools, I graduated number 1 in my residency training class. So it's to show that there's a difference in having the courage and the confidence and using that skill to show people that you're capable of what your gift is. And so I'm so passionate about that, because yes, I've gone through my mental health challenges. I've gone through all the other financial struggles, the support and everything. But if you have the right tools working inside out, including mindset, spirituality, oh, you're unstoppable.
It's time to ask yourself, When was the last time you prioritized you? Did you know that research shows that nearly 85% of high performers struggle to maintain a performance mindset while juggling the demands of work and personal life? Those who actively prioritize their performance mindset and personal growth are 30% more likely to achieve their goals in business and life. If you're feeling crippling stress and anxiety, or if you're feeling guilty when you take a moment for yourself, or if you're stuck in the grind and feeling burnt out, you're not alone. Many of us yearn for more, but struggle with the fear of being judged or feeling selfish. And you want to step into the next best version of yourself. That's why I created the Rinse Method, which got me from paraplegic to marathon runner. Backed by science-based proven strategies and now customized for high performers like you. If you're stuck and stressed and want clear steps that you can implement today to move forward, make sure you visit thepositivepersistence.com to download our free Rinse PDF.
Could not agree more, for sure. And I love the fact that you shared like all the setbacks that you faced in your own journey and how you were able to use mindset to help you to push through some of these things and get to the spot where you wanted to be, and basically rebooted your situation, your life, to get you to the spot where you wanted to go. And now here you are. And that's awesome.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for the journey because I wouldn't be here if I didn't experience it.
Yeah. And I think you're dead on. That is so important that in order for you to be able to, God, I guess it was, I forget who has said this, but in order for you to be able to help the people that you do, it is said that you are the most qualified to help the person that you once were. So it's important to go through those footsteps, right? And to wear the shoes of the people that you are trying to help, because that, that gives you that insight to what otherwise they wouldn't have. So I love that you mentioned that as well. Now your functional medicine practice focuses on root causes, as you talked about. And I think that one of the things that a lot of us don't maybe want to admit is that it's not enough just to focus on the things in your environment, to change the things around you. You have to change the things in you. As you already talked about, like the root causes are us. In so many ways, I feel that we stand in our own way, and we're, I guess, maybe scared to do the work, to dig in and find out where these self-limiting thoughts come from, why we might have some of these ailments that we do that are actually caused by our mental state and in our mindset and how we feel about ourselves. To someone who is maybe skeptical about that and the importance of nutrition and nourishing our body with the right type of food. So when we are talking about body and mind, if you could explain to somebody who maybe is skeptical about why those two things are so important and foundational in a sustainable comeback and eventually your ability to be a high performer.
Absolutely. And I love to bring in the science because there's data that shows that this is a phenomenon. We have a gut-brain axis. So we always hear about the nervous system thinking it's the brain and our spinal cord, right? Mm-hmm. But we have another nervous system called the enteric nervous system in our gut. And it produces most of the serotonin, which has to do with mood and how you feel. That's one of the main neurochemicals that are produced. And so if you look at how you're high functioning and how performing, well, a lot of it has to do with how is your brain able to focus and how are you present and showing up and interacting with other people. Well, as I mentioned, that there's the gut-brain axis, right? Mm-hmm. So it's bi-directional. So if your gut's inflamed, your brain's inflamed, and vice versa. So if you look at institutions such as Johns Hopkins and Harvard, which are very big institutions, there's evidence that shows this is a true phenomenon. And the mechanism that happens is we have, of course, vagus nerve is one of the biggest nerves, so you can tap in and regulate that way, but it also helps connect gut-brain axis as well. Mm-hmm. So if your gut, for instance, you're eating highly processed foods, or if you think you're eating nutritious foods, the three common triggers in America, I say America because our food is processed differently, because if you go overseas, you probably can tolerate these things. But the most common triggers, dairy, eggs, and wheat. And sometimes, most of the time, it's gluten. But why is that, right? So we have this gut barrier called tight junctions in our gut. So normally you consume food, you eat nutritious foods, and you break down what you need, all the nutrients. Certain things get passed and certain things don't. What happens is if you're eating any of these triggers, or maybe you had another stressor, be it physical stress, right? Because you can eat, or you can have physical stress, mental stress, right? Because your body doesn't know the difference between physically or you're interpreting it, right? So going the same cycle of anxiety. What that does is it releases cortisol, that stress hormone. And what that does, it also contributes to attacking that junction. So over time, these tight junctions, if you could see my hands, if you're watching, it loosens up. It loosens up. And then all these things that are not supposed to pass come through. The food particles that shouldn't be there. Then your body sees it as a foreign body. Then it starts having an immune reaction. It starts attacking it. And then there's something called autoimmune mimicry. So then it may attack, has antibodies clumping together, and it deposits everywhere. Sometimes they may show up on your joints. So joint pain, skin inflammation, acne, brain inflammation, mental disorders, brain fog, anxiety, depression. So that is quite important. Now, the study that came out, Dr. Palmer, he's out from Harvard. So he's looking at people with mental health. This is one situation. Then you look at high performers. That's my interpretation as well, because I see it. So with psychiatry, with patients having different diagnoses, what they found, yes, the ketogenic diet, of course, it was a big fad. But what is it used for? Patients that had seizure disorders, epilepsy, they found that was healing. And that goes to show that what is the ketogenic diet, right? It's focusing on eating clean, maybe higher fat protein, but not processed carbs, right? And I just had mentioned that there's these common triggers that are found that can cause an increase in autoimmune conditions and brain and et cetera, can cause inflammation. But then once you clean it up, what they found was some of the patients, and it went across the different diagnosis, depression, bipolar, whatever symptoms, and I say symptoms because there's a root cause, whatever symptoms there are, they're labeled that way. So if you implement not only the diet, the nutrition, clean that up and add in the other lifestyle like sleep, proper mindset, proper exercise, all that, these patients either were able to come off of their medicines, depending on what mental ailment they're fighting with, or had a lower need for it. They also found that it was a very high percentage improvement in mood, like 90%-ish. Don't quote me on the exact, but it was up there. And that also goes to show, well, you know what? If you're a high performer, you don't have time to deal with the gut. And so, yes, maybe it shows up with mental fog, maybe you're snapping at people, maybe you fall asleep, you just can't remember things, you can't be on point. But then also you have the gut issues, right? Like things that you used to eat, maybe you're bloated, or maybe you have more constipation, or you're having more of loose bowel, right? Going back and forth. And I've had clients that do that, where they're high performer, they're going out on lunches, they're traveling and speaking, and they don't have time for this. That's going to affect their performance. That's going to affect and take time out of their life, but they think that this is the way they should live. So if you come down to the root cause, actually address inflammation from the gut and actually implement nervous system regulation, oh gosh, you're truly going to be unstoppable. You're going to be a high performer, and that gets you the longevity. And the thing is, when you add in the functional approach, we add in the test points, right? You could do like a full gut microbiome test and see what's off and target it. You can also test your neurotransmitters and see if you're off balance in your nervous system, right? And same thing to test your hormones, because it's all related. So going back to the gut as well, say, okay, well, you have a gut imbalance, dysbiosis, right? Well, let's clean it up. So with me, what I've done is I'll do an elimination diet that typically, and it's not really a diet, but you're removing the common triggers for at least 21 days, because the antibody that's there, the IgG reaction. So if the IgG is the main antibody that needs to metabolize out of your system. And so if you remove the cause, one of those three triggers, and then I supplement with gut repair regimen, I usually add like digestive enzymes, glutamine, probiotic, and that is a really good combo. And I see people eating real food again, and people feeling better, getting their performance back, clearing up like It's just beautiful. I had one of my clients and she's out there traveling. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know I didn't have to sit in the bathroom all day. Like this, I can go be a performer." And it's beautiful to see people get their life back the right way to get to root causes sustainable. So that is truly important.
You've mentioned a couple of these, but if you were to maybe pick three, okay, daily practices that you've seen make the biggest difference for some of your clients trying to get their health back or rebuilding themselves after a setback, what would those three, maybe not practices, maybe like the three main things they should be paying attention to?
Number one would be the moment of pause. Moment of pause. Take that nervous system regulation. That is the biggest thing to do. And you could do it in any way that you feel. I find the best way to start is first thing in the morning. Like before, if you have kids, if you have a very stressful job, just before your alarm goes off, make it a habit. Even 5 minutes before, don't look at your blue screen because that's going to release the neurochemicals. It's going to set your body off into fight or flight response. That cortisol is going to be up, right? More than it should. And then what does that do to the rest of your day? It's going to set it off. So if you even 5 minutes, take a moment of pause in bed. If you have a certain prayer, if you like to have some gratitude affirmations, or if you just breathe. I say just breathe because again, it's doing such a big profound impact by just breathing and giving time to yourself. And then slowly build a practice. If you want to meditate, if you want to pray, if you want to journal, that goes into rewiring your brain and setting it off the right way, the mindset. And then start implementing it at night before you go to bed. So if you could do power pause when you wake up and then you wind down, that will set you up for a restorative sleep. And that's important. And then throughout the day, if you start tuning in and you start noticing, wait, my heart rate is going up, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, I know I can use my breath. But you're also putting more money in your bank because you have more to balance yourself. You're not easily going to tip over. So those are two simple practices I love to advise. And a lot of people love it because they take it with them. You could take it anywhere. Your breath, your moment of pause is always with you. So mindfulness, breath work, moment of pause, nervous system regulation, all the same boat, number one. And then number two, sleep. It's so underutilized because sleep, a lot of the toxins get cleared out. There's certain proteins that tangle up and they accumulate in your brain, and you start seeing more people with cognitive disorders. Sometimes people think it's dementia, early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, right? But a lot of it is just you need to clean up your lifestyle as well. So sleep is big, and especially for high performers, we underutilize it. But even if you go to sleep 30 minutes earlier and then push it back to an hour, you're letting yourself be optimal and perform better and show up better if you let yourself sleep. Everyone has a different bucket, but if you could do 7 hours, that's great. So sleep is big, and how you wind down for sleep, right? Like you don't want to have the blue screen because there's a portion of our brain that needs to shut down. And so even if you're doom scrolling or if you think you're Netflix binge watching, your brain is still going, right? Yeah. Like it's hard. Right. We've all done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've all done it.
Now, what about, and I know the answer to this question, but I need to ask it. So what about, those of us who we are grinding? Right. Yes. We're doing all the things. We are burning the candle at both ends because that is how we are supposed to find and create success. So for our everyday individuals who could be, our stay-at-home moms or our stay-at-home dads or our CEOs who are busy all day long, what do you mean I got to get more sleep? Like I need to get up at the crack of dawn, 3 a.m. to get my day started so I can get all my stuff done. And then I'm going all the way to the end of the day, taking care of my kids, packing lunch for the next day, getting into bed. Like you're telling me I'm supposed to sleep more. Where am I supposed to find the time to do that? What do you say to those individuals?
Oh my gosh, yes. And you place a boundary of unprotected time. Here's a biohack, I'll tell you. It's not really a biohack, but there's something called yoga nidra. And yoga nidra has been shown to be equivalent to sleep. So if you're burning on both ends, I think if you can put a boundary and even give yourself like 10 minutes of yoga nidra, that will restructure your brain, and it's equivalent to the outcome of sleep. That's a quick biohack for you. Yoga nidra. And that will help you to go a little bit longer. So if you really can't sleep, that's a hack that you could easily add in 10 minutes. If it's from the moment you wake up to the time you go to sleep, maybe try to structure it in there right when you wake up before it goes crazy, or right before you go to sleep, because that will be so much more beneficial to you. And if you have a moment through the day, which I know it's hard, then even yoga nidra is equivalent to a nap. So that would be my biggest, quickest hack for those high performers.
Yeah. I think for all of us, we need to understand that we're never going to find time.
Exactly.
Right? Like if you're trying to find it, you never will. Like you have to make it. You have to structure it into your day. And for a lot of us, including myself, I'm like, I don't have time to sit down and make time.
Exactly.
Right? But that is a direct beeline to burnout, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And to having that chronic stress of I am burning myself out because I don't have time to do anything other than put out fires all day, and I'm not setting myself up for success the next day. And I don't think that, and I may be wrong, but I don't think that we as a society understand the damaging effects of that type of lifestyle until it's too late. Now we're going to not contemporary, but now we're going to the doctor because we're having all of these issues, right? And we're not realizing that the reason for them is because of our lifestyle that we've led up until that point. Being in the fitness industry, when people talk about, they want, God, this is an expensive membership, or, it's like, you're either going to pay for your health now or you're going to pay for your health later. But the fact of the matter is, when you're paying for your health later, it's a hell of a lot more expensive than paying for it now, right? And you don't necessarily need to pay for your health with your dollars. You pay for your health with your attention to yourself, right? Like, as you mentioned, like what you're putting in your body, what you're surrounding yourself with in terms of what you're putting into your mind. Like when you are binge scrolling, or like, what are you giving your attention to? Because that is affecting your mindset, that is affecting your personality, that is affecting your aura, that is affecting your energy, that is affecting your vibration that you're putting out to the world. But, what do I know, right? I'm just a guy who doesn't have a medical background in understanding these things. But
you understand a lot, you know it. And, that's so profound what you said there, because you will pay for your health, but even to make it more tangible, the time that you lose. So if you give yourself some time now on the front end, then you're not spending the last decade of your life in and out of the hospital. And I see that sadly. Like, you want the biggest motivator, if you want to show up for the kids, is give yourself that permission to pause. And that's what it is. It's really a mindset. Like, it's not shaming yourself. It's not, guilting yourself into it. You're actually giving yourself time so you can be there, walk your kid down the aisle. You can go to each game or whatever it is. You can show up for yourself and then also for those you love.
Yes, you're exactly right. There needs to be a dramatic reframing of the word selfish. And when we're talking about what we're talking about now, we need to really take away the negative stigma that it has, the negative connotation that it has, and talk about you need to be selfish for yourself so you can be the best version of yourself for the people that you love in your life. You're exactly right. And, for me personally, my mother has been in and out of the hospital, right? She's in her 80s and she's in a facility now, a nursing home. But before that, she has a litany of health issues. She deals with hypertension, she deals with diabetes, and all these things are preventable if we would have been paying a little bit more attention and taking time to do the things for ourselves earlier on in life, so we don't end up paying for it towards the end, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you talked about bridging Eastern and Western medicine together. How do you integrate those perspectives when you are, designing a plan for a client?
Well, take for instance, you just mentioned high blood pressure and diabetes, right? So even according to standard of care, if you look at it, lifestyle is the number one treatment. But here's the thing, conventionally trained doctors, not everyone will tell you, but I'm going to tell you, you're not equipped. What does that mean? Like, you don't know. What does that mean? How do I tell someone what to eat? And how do I implement the continuous glucose monitors to really check what they're eating is good for their body? And then how do I tell them to exercise? What kind of exercise, right? Because remember, conventionally, you're waiting in the office for hours and you maybe get 5 minutes. So you can't even, what's the easiest thing? Bandage approach. Here's the blood pressure medicine. Here's insulin or whatever you're doing, right?
Right.
And someone else can teach you what to eat and how to exercise. And maybe after that, they probably won't. They're just going to go back to the stressful life. But here's what it is, right? And sadly, I laugh because that's what happens. And even my conventionally trained colleagues, they'll tell you. The ones that are humble enough, they're going to tell you, wow, I mean, I just don't know. That's why I just shut down patients, or I just go based off of standard of care because I don't know.
Diet and exercise. Diet and exercise. Diet and exercise.
Exactly. But what does that mean?
You're right.
So then what I do is I bridge that. And so a lot of, if they have those, they want to de-prescribe. And so because I'm a physician, I can de-prescribe, or if they need to adjust their dosage, whatever the case is, but we add in. So say if they don't even know how to exercise, well, let's start with walking. And then let's kind of build it up. Start maybe with the jog. Well, then let's get a little bit more. If you're already like doing that, well, let's just get advanced. Let's adjust. Let's add in more resistance training because that's good for you. There's so much data that shows that. Well, what's your protein intake? Are you eating the right antioxidants, the right colors of the rainbow? Like, are you eating the right herbs, right? If you season your food instead of adding, it's just all those things that I add in from a lifestyle perspective. And also the stress. How are you managing your stress? Because we know how complex that is, and it could raise your blood pressure, right? So if we implement the right type of diet, and I hate saying diet because it's really not a diet, you're eating to nourish your body, the nutrition. Are you targeting with the right supplements and herbs? Are you doing the right exercise, right, for your body? Is there underlying nervous system dysregulation that I can measure? Because I know what I'm looking for, and that we can adjust to work on that. Like, then we'll do mindfulness practices, yoga, breath work, yin yoga, like sound healing, anything else that brings down that nervous system. So that's just one case. You could use it on a lot of people, right? And same thing with I would say that would be the best way I actually combine both, because you're on a medicine for a reason, but let's see if we can de-prescribe it and actually add in the lifestyle that's for you, adding in the advanced labs as well. So it's adding all those. But if you're already healthy and you want to take it to the next step, you want to be like a biohacker and go into the longevity realm, well, let's just actually do that. Let's add it in. And going back to the example of hormones, right? So I know that your hormones are going to decline starting at a certain age, and you want to be optimal. Well, let's actually break it down. Let's look at all these activities. So for instance, HIIT, high intensity interval training, can increase testosterone for you men out there. And for everyone, it increases your VO2 max. That's just a marker to your cardiovascular marker, right? So it tells you if you're at risk for like a heart attack or a stroke, or are you healthy, right? And so if you add all these, you're actually practicing not only preventive medicine, but I'm blending in Eastern and Western. And so then you have all those sexy supplements, right? Like you got NAD out there, you got but also going back to the building blocks. Okay, so are you eating an anti-inflammatory diet? What is going to be benefiting you? What's your protein calculation for your body, right? Again, going back to all these other aspects according to that person, and making sure, if they need conventional medicine, then it's appropriate. But always add in the functional medicine. That's where it's the bridge.
It sounds amazing. So where does somebody start to, I guess, implement some of the things that you just talked about in their life? Let's just break it down like this. Where can our listeners and our viewers find out more about you, find out more about concierge medicine, find out more about functional medicine and the things that you offer?
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course. This is for everyone. And like you said, you can start if you're brand new. That's the beauty about this, because it's catered to you. So if you don't even pick up like a fresh vegetable. Well, let's just start small. Let's start eating the color of the rainbow, eat something green every day, right? Or whatever the case is, right? Start small, or just start walking. Or if you're advanced, since I know there's a lot of people into fitness, well, let's see what else we could do to get to the next level. Or, a lot of times people that are also high performers and into fitness have gut issues, right? And they learn to live with it, or certain type of pain, or minor symptoms that they just live with and they just don't notice. Well, if they work with someone like me, we can help pinpoint it to them. And it's all small steps that's sustainable to that lifestyle. And that's important, right? Like you said, if you're burning from the both ends, how is it going to be sustainable for you? And that's what we work together as a team. And I guide you. So the best way to find me, I keep it simple. You can find me on my website, www.drremina.com, DRREMINA. My email, hello@drremina.com, hello.drremina.com. And then my Instagram, it's at Dr. Remina. It's literally that. And so I'm always posting free stuff, education, reach out, DM me, email me. And then, of course, I have upcoming retreats. So you can always get a deep dive on a retreat and experience these beautiful modalities, because you're really getting your permission to pause and really build a system that's optimal for you. And then a book coming out soon too. So those will all be out, and all stay tuned. I would love to help spread the word, because you can take the tools into you, and you're changing the trajectory, not only for you, but your family.
That is awesome. Yes. And making it so you can truly step into the next best version of yourself and live your best life. Well, Dr. Remina, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today and drop all of this knowledge. We'll make sure that we get those links into our show notes for everybody. And as always, I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for joining us today. And remembering, we end it like we always do. Stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in and being part of the Positive Persistence family. We're having a great time creating this content, and we truly hope it inspires you to embrace positivity and persistence in your own journey. If this podcast episode inspired you or entertained you, scroll down, hit those stars, and leave a comment or two. Your 5-star reviews and shares encourage us and help us grow the show. So until next time, stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything.